How's it going? We're back, week 2, and what a week we have for you. I'm a friggin' poet and I didn't even know it, bud.
There you go, buddy.
Alright, that's all my contributions for the week. It's all your show, bud.
Oh no, you're the navigator of this ocean.
Alright, so if you missed it last week, I'm Hike Shadow,
I'm Alex.
and we are both natives of Metro West Boston who have now moved and to reside within the city limits of Cincinnati, Ohio, and we both happen to work in professional sports. That's how we actually met back when we were back home, and we're just kind of doing a pod, kind of talking about life as young professionals in professional sports, as well as just the differences in life between living back home in Massachusetts and here in Cincinnati, and then just other random takes we may have from here or there that we think of. Basically shower thoughts, the podcast.
Basically bringing our text messages to life, if you will.
100%. Whose audio is a little low, Drew? Is it me, or is it him, or is it everything? If it's everything, there's this cool thing called the volume rocker on the side of your phone, and you can turn all the volume up. This is also, we are live on my Twitch channel, and then all the VODs, unedited, go live on my YouTube. So the first episode's been live on my YouTube for like a week in 15-minute segments. Okay, I'm low. Sounds good. Is that better? Just asking. I appreciate the feedback, sir. Yes. All right, cool. So I think we'll get into it the same way we got into it last week, which is last week in sports. Again, as I said last week, it's up till we started recording at 8 p.m. Wednesday, the 29th of May 2024. So it would be from when we finish recording till when we get to today. So Alex, I think you're going to lead this one.
I guess I will. So the Celtics are back in the NBA Finals, my guy. Another Boston team potentially raising a banner this year. I thought that series would go 5. They brought the brooms out because why not? And we're still waiting to see who comes out of the West between Dallas and Minnesota.
That would be kind of funny if you wound up getting Minnesota-Boston. Actually, considering Walter Cup Game 5 for PWHL is currently on. I'm not going to lie, I'm watching it. It's on one of my monitors. I know you said you have it up as well.
It's on my screen, yeah. When there's playoff puck on, it'll probably be on while we record. I'm just going to be blunt.
I love hockey. Hockey is my favorite sport. It's the only sport, of the major professional sports, it's the only sport I didn't play at all growing up. As far as like the version that they played professionally, I played street hockey or ball hockey through college, but it's not the same as ice hockey.
Back in gym, I thought I was a Martin Brodeur of my gym class with how elite my goaltender skills were until I realized I played baseball.
I love baseball. Baseball's an underrated sport, and I think it gets a bad rap. But I think in general it's a pretty damn good sport, and I think I mentioned this last week as well. I've noticed my tastes in things. I know I said this in reference to movies last week. My taste in movies definitely has changed as I've grown older. I still love comedy movies, and so that's part of why we ranked the 5 movies we did. Speaking of that, I did watch 2 of those 5 movies on Monday.
Of the job interview questions?
Of the job interview 5. Yeah. I watched Step Brothers because it is a good movie.
Classic.
And then actually Peacock auto-played the 40-Year-Old Virgin afterwards.
The internet's listening to this right now, so it's our algorithms are just gonna be tuned to how this podcast is gonna go.
And I will say, I'm still correct about the fact that a large portion of the movie is based around the fact that Steve Carell's love interest in the movie, owning of a we sell at an eBay store, which again, the concept is stupid and hilarious. And I think it again, to just follow up on my take, it definitely ages itself. But man, I was sitting here playing MLB The Show because I had the day off work, and the girlfriend actually got called into work, so I was home alone. I literally was sitting here like pissing my pants laughing because it's a way funnier movie than I remember it being.
Leaving you unsupervised is a very dangerous game.
It's a very dangerous game. Remember, they let me. Remember, they used to leave me unsupervised with knives when I was in high school. Well, I guess after I graduated high school. It's been about 10 years since I had that job.
I think I know where you're going with this one.
Oh, I'm 100% going with it. If you read the title of the podcast, it is titled, This Hat Has Meat Stains. And mostly because I made the comment that this hat has meat stains on it. For the shortest job I've ever had in my life, literally the shortest time, I think I only worked this job 2 months. I worked at the deli at Shaw's, just up the street from my parents' house. You've been to my parents' house, you know the Shaw's I'm talking about, where the Dunkin' Donuts used to be. Like Stowe doesn't have any, but there used to be one there.
Oh, the one town in the state that doesn't have one?
The one town, Stowe, Massachusetts, went from having 2 Dunkin' Donuts when we were kids to none. Just none. But yeah, so I worked at the Shaw's. I worked in the deli for like 2 months, and I started that job on my mom's birthday, which is in June, and then I worked it up until the day I moved into college, and then I just never went back. I didn't quit. I just never went back. I'm pretty sure I'm still on their employee rolls at this point. And like technically they could try to call me in, but it's been 10 years and they haven't called me in. So I'm thinking they're not going to call me in to work.
Got some benefits from Shaw's that you're waiting on?
No, I worked there 2 months as far as I'm concerned. But so the hat, legitimately, if I turn it around, I don't know how well you can see it on the camera, but all of that is literally ham sweat.
We're just starting on a very high note this week. Love it.
We're just gonna own it. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna own it. And actually, I'm not gonna lie. This is one of my running hats now. Like when I go home, I'll bring a couple hats home. I have like going out hats and I have running hats, and they are different because you don't want to get your nice hats gross, and then obviously you don't care about your gross hats. They're your gross hats.
I mean, I have a couple hats that I wear to the gym exclusively for that reason.
Exactly. Honestly, this was one of the takes I was gonna put on the outline.
The Google Doc of flankery, as we call it.
Yes, the outline to the podcast, the guideline that keeps us guided. We're not very good at reading though, so that's a little caveat there. But rolling back to sports, sorry, everything about the Celtics being in the playoffs in Minnesota had me on a roll, and I was just like, we're gonna send it. Going back to the last week in sports, did you catch? I know that we're both watching Game 5 of the PWHL game, but did you catch any of Game 4, or have you seen the highlight? I think I can call it the highlight at this point, and you'll know what we're talking about.
So, you texted a group chat about it, and then I threw the game on after that. So I saw after that challenge to the end of the game. Mm-hmm. So when they sent it back, the lull is basically what I caught. I think that's all I needed to see there.
Yeah. Did they? I don't remember if they were showing the actual the goaltender interference. What led to being the goaltender interference? The call, which is I still will. There may be a bias because I'm actually a Boston PWHL fan, but I was like, all right, I can tell you I was sitting right here at my computer, playing MLB The Show, watching the game. I don't know. I had a spreadsheet or something up on my third screen. Yeah, my computer has 3 monitors. It's kind of cool. and I just picked up my phone immediately. I was like, oh damn, Minnesota won. Like, I was gonna tell you guys to turn it on to watch the trophy presentation, because I think, again, working in sports, that's the thing I'm working towards. I want to see the trophy presentation, hopefully in my own building. If nothing else, at least my team lifting the trophy. That's one thing in sports I haven't gotten to accomplish yet. But so it was a beautiful shot, great shot. I was like, oh damn, Minnesota, good job, you won the first Walter Cup. Fantastic, good for you guys. I'm looking forward to next season. And then all of a sudden, the previous players under review. Now all these girls, women, have taken all their gloves off, helmets off. I almost said hats because I'm wearing a hat. Gloves off, helmets off, sticks are on all over the ice. They're cheering, they're celebrating. The Baxell Energy Center in Minneapolis is going wild. And then you get that call, and I'm like, oh my, that is such a wild way to move a game. But it was just, and then I watched replay. I was like, oh, actually, that is goaltender interference. Like, pretty textbook. I think it was Taylor Heisey. She lost she caught an edge. She lost it, and she sailed right into Anne Frankel. Frankel. I can't pronounce names. This is why I'm not a broadcaster. Right into her. She had no chance to make the play. Minnesota scores. Textbook goaltender interference. I did feel bad for Minnesota. I'm not gonna lie. You think you've just won the championship, and now the wind's out of your sails. It's too OT, and then that happens, and then obviously a few minutes later, Boston goes down. They score. They rip a beautiful shot. Game over. It's going to Lowell on Wednesday, and that's where it comes to. It comes down to tonight with 16 to go in the second. Still tied at 0. And then other news that happened today, the MLB recognizing the Negro Leagues as for records.
It's huge.
I think it's huge for the sport. I understand some people's takes that, like, well, now it's Ty Cobb and Babe Ruth have records that are just no longer theirs without someone in the MLB, and I'm saying it a very specific way for this reason, without someone in the MLB breaking the record. And I get where they're coming from, and I think that's a fair assessment. But at the same time, Josh Gibson was so good at baseball.
He could swing the bat a little bit.
He was just so good at baseball, and he didn't have the opportunity to play in the MLB. So, I think all his records are going to be kind of asterisk records because of that fact. And I think Babe Ruth and Ty Cobb's records the same thing, asterisk because of that fact. And I don't think anyone's going to break any of them for the record.
Yeah, and I mean, you got a lot of people that are getting integrated into the stat sheets that never step foot in a big league game. Exactly. So I get that argument, but it's like I've seen the arguments on Twitter for the last 4 or 5 years of. So this is happening after you have this whole group of people that support integrating all these records in. Me being one of them, but I think you got to realize that I don't believe they played a full, or like kind of like the seasons didn't line up in terms of games or whatever.
They were shorter, I believe.
Yeah.
So
I saw like 140 maybe on the games, something like that.
I thought MLB was 140 and the NLB were even shorter, but I could be wrong. I could be 100% wrong.
Yeah, that's the knowledge that's what I gotta actually look up. But
I think that's also relevant though, right? Because if it's not a good example, but I'm the king of bad examples that prove my point. If the NLB season is 80 games, right? I think you have a higher now on both ends. You're gonna have inflated stats. You're gonna have because each at bat now, if you only have 80 games versus 140, Again, I'm making up numbers just for my point. It may not be accurate, and I accept that. Um, if I see someone that has an OPS of 822, again, making up numbers, but only played 80 games, and someone that has a 784 OPS, but played 140, I think that OPS of the 140 is a more accurate number because with 80 games, you have a better chance of getting on a hot streak, really reflecting in your stats. Now, conversely, cold streaks also will reflect on your stats as well. What's your opinion?
I did a quick Google search here.
I'm a big fan of the quick Google search.
The quick Google search has come out to the seasons varied from 60 to 80 official games, and I think for the sake of kind of simplify all this down, let's say the MLB plays double that now, so yeah. I think just to make it easy, instead of play double that,
because I know Babe Ruth's stats are based off an 140 game schedule, I believe. Because I believe the MLB at the time was on 140.
Yeah. Let's go with that then. But still about double, regardless of how you look at it.
So, again, I'm not against Josh Gibson being recognized for his accomplishments, because they are accomplishments. But just like he didn't get the chance to play in the MLB, Babe Ruth didn't have the chance to be hitting the pitchers that Josh Gibson was hitting. So I think that's actually also very relevant that people don't talk about. Because I don't know what the quality of the average pitcher was in the MLB versus the NLB at the time.
Yep.
Because, Minnesota. So I think that's also super relevant because, yes, I realize you had Hilton Smith, Martin Digo, Satchel Paige, who all came out of the NLB leagues, but how many other pitchers did you have that were just like semi-average, you know? Because I don't know, because believe it or not, I wasn't around during this time, so I never got to see them play, so I can tell you how good or not good they were compared to an MLB player at the time.
And I'm gonna use Gibson as an example here, but I think the popular thing I've seen through Twitter and just a lot of other kind of documentaries and stuff is that they're saying Josh Gibson was the better hitter than Babe Ruth, Ty Cobb, all those guys. By himself.
I believe that. I think just what I've seen and what I've heard, people talk about him being a better hitter, and that's fine. And his numbers do show that he was a better hitter. But again, it is hard to compare different eras and different leagues. So I'm glad that it's not my job.
Give me a time machine. I want to go back and actually check out.
I would too. Games. I think it'd be
that whole era, going like the whole dead ball era. Is something I want to go back and see.
I think it'd be cool.
Has been on.
I agree with you. I think it'd be very, very cool. Where was I going with this? There was actually like logic to where I was going with this.
I saw ESPN put a graph. It might have been ESPN. It might have been somebody else. But they had like the top 12 batting average leaders of all time, with the integrated Negro League stats, and I think it was like half that list is all NLB hitters. Like Gibson, Buck Leonard, all those guys were all in there.
And I'm not saying I think they're fantastic players. Oh, this is where I was going with it. Actually, completely different, but kind of the same. I saw so as you know, and I know we haven't actually talked about like our fandoms and growing up, and kind of how that shaped us wanting to move to sports. We will get to that a little bit here. But for me, I grew up a Yankees fan. And still am to this day. I love the New York Yankees. They're my favorite MLB team, and they will be forever. But I saw on like the sub thread of Twitter, Yankees Twitter, someone put a poll up asking who's the better player, Jeter or Judge. And I saw it today while I was sitting at work, and I was like, well, automatically I was like, well, Jeter. And then I sat there and I thought about it even longer. Right? Sorry, I am a salesman and I talk all day, so my voice is a little dry here. But and I saw a lot of people being like, well, it's hard. Judge has these inflated numbers because for like OPS and stuff. Partially because he's a power hitter, and partially because he's played less careers, so his OPS is inflated. Because every time he slams a home run, that's going to affect his OPS a lot more than any given hit Derek Jeter had in his 3,000. And that was where someone was like, you can't really take a partial career and compare it to a complete career. This is a question we'll have to revisit down the line when Judge is finally done with his career. And that's kind of where my take for the NLB versus MLB comes from, because again, it's just a lot less games. A lot less games played.
Less games played, and then you just got a lot of other kind of, I think, more record keeping things that you got to kind of clarify out and got to have to sort through just to kind of make sure everything kind of adds up the way it needs to. Then when you compare a Judge to a Jeter, like, what you mean? Was that overall?
I think it was. Let me look it up. I'll find it real quick. I think it was just overall who's the better player, which I think it's actually. I still think my gut of Jeter is still the right call.
I'm with you on that one.
I think Jeter is.
No, Judge has got to go on a tear in the next few years.
Here's a take I have had, and I've had it. It's a little bit of a harder take to defend every day, just because every day we grow farther from it. But in my lifetime, since mid-February 1996, when I was born, Derek Jeter is the most important player to play for the New York Yankees. That is a take I have, and I think it's a pretty damn accurate take.
Yeah, no, I see it. I mean, I agree. I was born about a year and a half later, but you know, when you bring up the top shortstops when we were growing up, it was him. It was Nomar, A-Rod before he signed with the Yankees. It was like the big three of Nomar, Jeter, and A-Rod.
Oh yeah,
of the best shortstops.
And I'm not gonna lie, the best one defensively of the three of them was Nomar, and I will say that. Boston Red Sox, Nomar Garciaparra is the best shortstop I've seen play in my lifetime.
It's a name that you don't hear too much anymore, anyway.
He was actually my sister's favorite player. So like, we have some bobbleheads, we have like a couple jerseys at my mom's house. I'm bringing the Nomar bobblehead back to Cincy with me after I visit her over the summer.
You think with a name like Nomar, he'd be talked about way more, because that's a one-to-one name right there.
Oh, it's a fantastic name. He also, speaking of Mr. Garciaparra, he's someone I want in MLB The Show.
Facts.
And I think if they added him to the game, I'd go out of my way to acquire him.
The way that they're going about content this year, it's like, knowing our luck with it, it'd probably be like Dodgers Nomar or something. It wouldn't even be like Prime Nomar.
Hold on, I'm pulling his baseball reference page up right now. Obviously, I'm sharing my screen with you. Do you like how I didn't even have to type his whole name and it already came up? I don't Google him that often.
No, but I think he's in that
I only know him the era of 96 to 04. Like, I knew he played for the Cubs in 04, 05, and he slipped on home plate and like broke himself. I forgot that I didn't even know he was an Oakland Athletic
It's kind of one of those
Hell,
moves
give me.
that doesn't.
You know what? I won't be the show. I'm gonna say this right now. Give me Oakland Athletics. Nomar Garcia Parra. It doesn't have to be good. Just give it to me. He can be a 64 and he'll still make my team.
No, I'm gonna need Red Sox Noma, and that's the only acceptable answer.
I also love that he was drafted by the Brewers and never played a game for them. He played in Pawtucket, right?
Well, yeah, had to.
Well, assuming he played in Sarasota, Trenton. He played for the
Yeah,
Trenton Thunder.
No, yeah, I think the Sea Dogs weren't a thing yet.
The Sea Dogs didn't even start as the Red Sox affiliate. I do know that.
Still the Marlins. I think they were still the Marlins affiliate then.
I think they were. He was a Las
Probably.
Vegas 51. I love seeing the teams he played for. He played for the Peoria Chiefs.
That looks like rehab, though.
Oh, it definitely was.
Yeah, that was definitely rehab.
The West Diamond Jacks. I just like looking at the team names. I actually, fun fact, I went to my first baseball game in 2001. It was during Nomar's stint with the Paw Sox. But that was my first baseball game I saw. He was playing for Pawtucket. Which is fine. Like that's still impressive as shit.
Yeah, we got to see Nomar on the cheap then.
We used to drive down to Pawtucket. Like once or twice a summer, we'd drive down to Pawtucket for a game.
That's a reasonable drive from where we grew up.
Funny thing is, Manchester, New Hampshire is closer, but my dad wouldn't drive up to New Hampshire. He would always go down to Rhode Island. But I think it's because Pawtucket was the Red Sox affiliate, whereas Manchester they were someone's affiliate, and then they were the Blue Jays affiliate.
Remember the Connecticut Defenders?
Yes.
Saw them in Manchester. Great game.
I've never been to a game at Northeast Dental Stadium. The only reason I know the name of the stadium is because I interviewed actually with the Fisher Cats. They were Cardinals. They came in as the Rockies affiliate, then they were a Mariners affiliate, then the Cards, and then since 2003 they've been the Blue Jays. But where was I going with this? Yeah, so I guess this kind of is our is something we can use as a segue point. We don't have to, obviously. But the Fisher Cats, we'll go to them here real quick, just for scotch of a second. Like I said, the only reason I know the name of their stadium, like I could rattle it off like that, is because December after my first sports job ended, I actually went to a group interview with them. I did not get the job. Spoiler alert for later. But the stadium was really nice, and it made me want to go to a Fisher Cats game, something I'd never really had the desire to do. And this was a point I had on last week's agenda, and I don't think we ever got to it. But as we mentioned, we both worked. We mentioned a little bit last week. We met while working in arena football. And Alex, I don't know about you, but I know I've always liked watching minor leagues and more obscure sports as it is. But has working in a minor league / obscure sport, because I think arena football fits both those categories, had you start watching more obscure sports or minor leagues in general?
I mean, I've noticed I keep up with the IFL a lot more now, just kind of see how the player movement is. Because if you look at it in the way that we've had players that we knew with a certain team, so like I'm gonna say Drew Powell, who played for Arizona during our tenure. I think this offseason he got traded.
Tucson, right?
Last thing I saw, he was there, but he might have moved up to the CFL or something. I know a few guys from my Pirates tenure moved up to the CFL and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I mean, I'll say, like, I went to an ECHL game before I worked my first stint in the ECHL, But I will say, after that first stint working in it, I've been a lot more wanting to go to games. Not even the market that I work for. Like, I was, as I said, I worked for the Monarchs in Manchester. The last season they were a team. They were in the ECHL at the time. And I'd go to the games when we played Worcester because Worcester was close to home. And I could get free tickets, which was sweet. But, like, that 2019-20 season, that first season Manchester wasn't a team anymore. And then the 21-22 season when Worcester came back because the 2020 season was just straight canceled, and then, or the 1920 season got canceled in March. Little global pandemic happened, no big deal. And then after that, when hockey came back and sports were coming back, I did go to Railers games. I went to that first opening night when they were back full time. They didn't play in the 2021 season actually because that was the limited season. But the 22-23 season, I went to that. No, they did play 21-22. It was 2021 they didn't play. But 21-22 I went to opening night, and the VCU Center was packed. It's the highest up I had ever sat, and I had gone to Ice Cats games. I had gone to Worcester Sharks games because I did watch I had watched AHL games in Lowell for the longest time because my dad would take me to the Lock Monsters and the Devils when they were there. The black box is for the YouTube, so we can have subtitles go in there. That's the point of the black box being there, Drew. So it looks a little funky, but it's for when we do post-production. And because the screens aren't scaled properly to go full screen. But I had always gone to minor league hockey, like the AHL and AAA baseball. I'd always gone to like one level below the top level, and then but after going and working in the ECHL, I like really sought out going to 2 ECHL games, and I watch like if it's on YouTube or Flow Sports, because that's what the ECHL uses now for like streaming, and I do pay for it. I'll watch like SPHL games. I'll watch college. I'll watch like D1 college hockey. I'll watch college club hockey. I watch a lot more different levels of hockey. So I went to professional women's hockey a few times prior to the PWHL being a thing. So I definitely will say working in minor leagues shaped me wanting to go to games, and then I have a horse in the race. Like, I'll see a guy that played in Manchester in 2018-19 get signed by Vegas or any NHL club, and I'm like, dude, I remember him. Or they're still playing the ECHL, or they've gone to the SPHL or something. And I will sit there and I'll be like, I know, like, I remember him being in Manchester. I'm friggin' rooting for this dude. Like, I'll put my own fandom to the side to root for this dude to be successful.
And I'll do that too for a lot of the Pirates guys that move around. With the UFL now, we still have a few horses in that race there, but I try to keep up with as many of those guys as I can because I end up working on them for some agent-related things.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say, being on the content side of sports.
So when the Railers weren't playing, that's when I started with the Pirates, our mutual meeting point. But I was there right in the January of that championship year. So I was there I was really the longest tenured out of the group that we were a part of, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And that season, it was very small, and I think that's the thing about working in that minor league sport side of things is that a lot of teams are very, very small, just from a payroll standpoint.
Oh yeah, I agree, and I think that's the other thing that like makes me be super into these minor leagues, obscure leagues, Oh, I've gone to the WNBA too. I've been to like 6 or 7 Connecticut Sun games. But again, a buddy of mine from college works for them, so he'd help me out with tickets, and I still owe him some. So if he ever comes to Cincinnati, I'll have to make good on my end, I guess. But it's one of those things where it's like the industry as a whole is a very small industry, at least in my experience. I don't talk to many. Like, I'll talk to people and they'll be like, "Oh, where'd you go to school?" I'm like, "Oh, I went here." I'm like, "Oh, do you know?" I was like, "Yeah, we were in class with that person. I know them decently well." And I think minor league sports the same sort of culture. Like, I'll tell people, "Oh, I worked for Manchester," and they'll be like, "Oh, I worked with this guy who also worked with you in Manchester," and either I liked them or I hated them. Like,
Yeah.
because people interact differently. And I think the IFL is probably very similar. I didn't really get as much of a taste for it, despite working the IFL the same amount of time I worked in the ECHL for my first stint. I just think the way it was run and the way the league was in general, I felt like there was less closeness. I'm sorry about my cough.
The thing with just being in the IFL too, like a lot of those teams are just very much. We work basically in a family business, so to speak, just to kind of sum up how that came to be. But I feel a lot of those other teams are like smaller investments for a lot of other companies. Like I know the Nighthawks are part of the Vegas portfolio, but they're on the smaller side of that portfolio for them. Mm-hmm. But going back to that first year, like for me, it was myself, couple salespeople, operations, GM, and marketing. That was basically it.
I mean,
we didn't have a media guy. I was in turn the media guy, but I basically put out 85-90% of that content that season.
I believe you.
While doing everything else. Like I was doing all the practice filming with a couple other kids. I was just doing what I had to do to make the ship float. But the payoff was actually, I think, well worth it in the grand scheme.
And I'll say, I was in the stands for that. The event that I guess wound up being the Eastern Conference Championship game, although it was just the final semifinal because they didn't really have conferences that season, or it didn't feel like they did. But I was there when because obviously I would, over that off season, I gain employment with them. When they played Frisco, I was there. I was in the stands for it. It was probably one of the better games I had been to. It's probably like my 10th or 11th arena football game I had been to. Because even though I had watched it and like played the video games for years, I'd never gone to arena football because we didn't have arena football in Massachusetts. At least like for the most part. There was a team that played in like 2008 for like a year. But there had been no like... It had been almost 10 years since the team had been... Or over 10 years since the team had played in Massachusetts before the Pirates came to town in Worcester. So, I think it was a good time for the sport to come in. I think the worst thing that happened was COVID. I think that just really hurt minor leagues a little bit more. Minor leagues and obscure leagues, because the WNBA is not a minor league, but I think it was also hurt by COVID just because that's just the way of sports. You're either a major league or you're a minor / obscure. There's really no other categories.
Yeah, I mean, I think the way I kind of look at everything, for me, it's been a little over a year since I made my decision to leave. And I think it came at a time where like I was already planning on it. Like I was just trying to ride that season out, but it just got the situation that allowed me to do so. Kind of what other things I was kind of thinking about, including my eventual move out to Cincy. Everything just kind of happened to line up in a way that just made sense for me to say, all right, I'm willing to give this up so I can go pursue that. And, I don't think twice about it. I feel like it was a great decision for me just personally. But being part of a championship winning front office is I can't deny the importance of that.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of this, it was still a success despite what you and I both know that we're just gonna keep that between the two of us. But going through the motions of that and wanting to get another one, having that feeling of wanting to get another ring is something I want to try to go do somewhere else.
I agree 100%. I think, and I have this conversation with friends that work in other leagues, other sports, especially the ones like, obviously I work in hockey, so I'm a winter sport, but like my buddy that I mentioned at the Connecticut Sun, they played Caitlin Clark's Indiana Fever here at the beginning of the season, and since we were already done, we were out of the playoffs, I sent him a text, as I do every year on his opening night. Like, I think last year we were still playing, so I was like, good luck on your opening night, but hold up on your whole ring hopes here. It's still we're in my playoffs here. It's still my shot to hopefully get the first ring out of our friendship. Professional sports ring, because I can guarantee he'll get the first actual ring, because I believe he is engaged to his fiance. So I'm proud of him being able to find a work-life balance that's worked for him. Again, in an industry that work-life balance is a hard thing to come by, and it's not because we don't want to have a work-life balance. It's just when you,
the demand is such
in season,
you gotta find it.
Yeah, and you're the eventual person you'll settle down with, your partner, significant other, whatever phrase you want to use for it. They have to understand and like buy into what you're doing, and the hours you're gonna work, and everything, because it doesn't work if your significant other's not there to support you through it. And I think that's something I've learned, having been both single and in a relationship at various points in my career. It's easier when I've had a significant other, being able to lean on someone else when I come home from work, or I have a rough day, deal with an asshole client, because they exist. Spoiler alert, people suck. But having that person to lean on has always been one of the best things. It just being able to go home and talk and be like, yeah, I had a rough day because of XYZ, and just being supported to the point, like, because there were days, especially when I was single in this industry, where I'd go home and I'd be like, have I made the right choice with like my career path and everything? Because it does not feel like the right choice right now. Those car rides home after a bad day, whew, they were bad.
Yeah, and I think for us, going back to the Worcester era of our career still, I'm glad that we have the circle that we have and that we managed to take it and bring it with us no matter where we are. Because all of us are all spread out now, but we still take the minute to see how we're all doing.
Yeah, I was going to say, we're now
we're 2 years removed from all of us really being in the same place.
And we're in 5 states between our group?
Yeah.
Because there's obviously still Mass, and there's New Hampshire in our group.
There's Virginia, Illinois, South Carolina.
Yep, and then us in Ohio.
Florida too, right?
Florida too, yes. I don't count her as much. I don't interact with that one person as much,
but I still, in the grand scheme,
in the grand scheme of things,
I mean, that job did bring us some great friends.
It brought me great friends. It was great coworkers. It was the only era in sports that I was single, and I can say that honestly because I had a long-term relationship when I was in Manchester. I had been dating the same girl since college, and then we broke up during COVID. And then I was single into most of my era in Worcester, and then I came to Cincinnati single as well. And I've since met a fantastic woman who puts up with me, and that's the most important thing at the end of the day.
Yeah, for sure. I think on my side of things, on the content side, you have so many people that are trying to break into it. Like that, this is just an industry everybody's trying to get into, and I think that a lot of people, not so much the people I know, but I think people that want to get in it and think they can just waltz right in. You got to be a free agent for a while. I think that's kind of the hardest pill to swallow in that case. Is like, I'm still kind of dealing with that whole free agency thing, but I'm just trying to take advantage of what chances come my way, so I can kind of put myself in a better position.
Oh, I agree, and I think it's not all skill. There's a lot of luck. I think athletics as a whole is it's very luck based. Just like being an athlete, it's not necessarily how good are you, it's how good are you and are you at the right place. And I think kind of going back to that take we had at the beginning about Josh Gibson, he was obviously very good at baseball, but because of where he was at that place and that time, he never had the actual ability to see the MLB. And I think
he would have done some major damage.
I think he would have done.
Yeah, I think it would have been fun to see that.
He either would have done major damage or been a major bust. Like I can't tell you either way. It's impossible to tell you either way. I think based on how he has played, and his numbers wise, I think he would have done major damage in that era. But I couldn't tell you because it didn't happen. It's something that we'll never know. There's never going to be an answer to it. As much as we may want one.
Yeah. And then I think my whole career in sports at this point has just been... I knew I wanted to get in it early, but I think I'm still learning the ins and outs. Like, I'm just trying to get 1% better at what I do. I mean, I went from a minor league sport to helping out the marketing team of an NBA champion, all in a matter of 5 months.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't think I was going to get that opportunity either. Like, you told me that I was going to do that, I wouldn't have believed you until I actually started doing it. So, no, I'm not trying to. I'm trying to be open-minded about everything.
No, I agree, and I think I think I felt the same way. I applied for my current job while I was working in Worcester, and I remember saying, well, dude's not going to even give me an interview. Like, I live 900 miles away. Like, that's such a risk. Just to even interview me is such a risk, right?
Yeah,
because the likelihood that I will say no has got to be significantly higher because I am 900 miles away, right?
Yeah, I think that kind of goes to the point. You and I talk about this all the time through the Snapchats or the iMessages, whichever platform we feel like using that day, is that really any job seeker just needs one yes.
Yeah,
it's like all anybody's looking for.
I agree, and I think again, being on the sales side of things, there will be days, not so much in the off season, but like during the regular season where I'm really hammering my phone calls. I'm really like doing my due diligence to my job, and it's just, especially I had it a lot more in Manchester, where it'd just be a day of no, F off, no, lose my effing number, over the course of my 50 phone calls, and then I get one person that buys some pretty small package, like some 3-game plan, some voucher plan, something like very insignificant in value, right? But those little wins are what rode me through days in Manchester, more often than not. Sitting there just having those little wins. Oh, we got to win here. Oh, we got to win there. Sick. I'd sit in my hour-and-a-half car ride home and say, today was a successful day. Today was a good day. When I'd have those little wins, and I think the sports industry is all about mentality. And I think the mentality I carried from that in Manchester was, I'm going to lose way more than I win. I didn't think I was going to get the job at the arena team the day I interviewed for it. And I did. Spoiler alert. And then same thing with the Cincinnati job. I didn't think I was going to get it. But I was like, you don't know if you don't try. And that's kind of been my mentality in sports. And I have to... There are days, especially now, that like I really do love my job. I love where I live. I love what I do. I have to sit there in my car sometimes and remind myself like of that fact. Like, if today sucks, it's not bad. I have a note that I have on my desk now. I wrote it my first day in Manchester after my first phone call. I wrote it to myself, and I had it on my desk in Worcester. I had it in my computer when I was a teacher, too, because that's what I did in the intern. During COVID, I was a special education teacher. Well, a special education paraprofessional is my technical title. But to explain it to people, I was like, I was a teacher, because no one knows what a paraprofessional is, especially if they're not within a school system. And it was 5 words. It just said, "Smile, today doesn't suck yet." And that's kind of my my mentality on everything, is just smile, today doesn't suck yet, because I've always said it my whole life, it could always be worse. And yeah. I think I have a bad day and I'm like, it could have been worse. Or I'm bored because nothing's happening at work. It could have been worse. And I think that's the mentality that you have to carry in this industry, because I think it really always could be worse. I don't think there's a more accurate statement I can make about working in professional sports than it could always be worse.
I think for me, like I was telling you about, I've been out here for about a year now, really. Yeah. And I had a chance to interview with a team that would potentially, if that course goes the way that I'm hoping it does, there's a shot I'm going back home to go work for that team. Mm-hmm. And I've never ruled out going back, because I feel like part of that free agency is going to where you have to go. And I think that's what, if you want to stay in your home city, that's on you. But in this industry, you got to be prepared to come out to the Midwest, go out west of Oregon, Washington. You got to be prepared to go anywhere.
And be willing to. I don't think it's necessarily prepared. I think it's willing to. Again, I think it's a willingness, not a. Because
I think you're as much of a free agent as some of your favorite athletes have been.
Yeah.
You know, they sign for different reasons, but I think when you sign on with a team, you got to be willing to basically start at square one in a new place on a moment's notice almost.
Oh, I agree 100%. I had a professor in college. She's actually the dean of the College of Business now at my university. And she said that this one line, and I'll never forget it. And it was, don't say you have to do something. Always tell yourself you get the opportunity to do this. And it was probably my junior or senior year when she in whatever class, I don't remember what class it was. It was some facilities class, I know, because she taught all my facilities classes. And I remember sitting there and being like, that makes sense. Like, I want to do these things more when I tell myself I have the opportunity to do this.
Yeah. Like, I think having the opportunity to be a part of that championship, I still look back on in the fondest way. You know, I think you know the breakdown of that. Me and one other intern got rings out of that. And we probably had 15, 20 interns that year. Mm-hmm. And only 2 got rings, and nobody else really knew about it. We ended up I ended up signing on that offseason as well. And then kind of having the same kind of position, more or less, while working for another job as well. But I think being able to, I felt like that was more of like, I've prove that I can do it. That was a big prove it moment for me, was just being able to be a part of that and just wanting to bring another one back.
Oh, I agree, and I think every job I've worked, every day I go to work, I really do have the mentality, or I hope I at least show it, that I want to be here. I want to do this job. I want to be the best I possibly can be. There may be days where I'm dead tired, dead bored, dead anything, right? Because I have personal crap. Like, that's life, right? But I hope the 8 hours I sit at my desk, hopefully I'm not actually at my desk for all 8 hours, because that does make for a boring day. Hopefully I'm getting up to walk around at least a little bit. But that eight-ish hours I'm sitting at that desk, I want you to know I really will give it my all, and you give me a task, I'm going to do my damnedest to get it done and get it done right. Because I think that's what you have to do in this industry, and there will be days where you hate your job. There will be days you hate what you do, and it's not because you hate your job or what you do. You hate that particular part of your job or what you do, and getting through those mental blocks. I think any job has that. I had paperwork when I was a paraprofessional. I hated doing it, but you know what? I finally taught myself the efficient ways to do it, so I didn't get to the point where it was just so overwhelming that I was boned, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, and I think for me, I was just doing the same thing over and over and over again. I got bored, and so I just asked for other things to do. And when I just wasn't doing it, I just didn't feel it. I just felt like everything I was doing just was cookie cutter, different context. You know what I mean?
No, I get that.
I think like after a while, like I get what I was doing had crucial importance. I had information no one else really knew. So I thought that was cool. That was the only cool thing I thought of about it. But after doing that for a year and a half, I'm just like, all right, I need a new challenge. I need something different in this. Otherwise, it's just gonna be this. Like, and I was doing I was doing other things that I never had to do before. Like, I never had to build a website from square one.
Nothing.
Never had to maintain. I had to maintain 2 of them, and I only got the second one thrown on me because I knew how to do inventory for merchandise. Like, it was just a lot of extra work being thrown on me when I was really you knew I was only there the days I could be there.
Yep, and again, it's because you had the 2 jobs and
2 jobs, and I told him if I'm at the other job, I can't drop everything and show up. Like, that's just not logical for me, because I have to drive from basically Foxborough to Worcester, which isn't a short drive, but like, I think after a while I kind of realized I was kind of slowly getting pushed, and I think when I had this moment of like, all right, I know what's going on. I just decided to step away. And I think knowing when to step away is also important, just in general.
I agree.
Because you could like where you're at, but if you know something's up, like if you feel it, something's off, you just gotta go.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, I had no issue handing off what had to be handed off, but if you're just gonna use me to do all this stuff that you couldn't find somebody else to do or people didn't want to do, then and you're not paying me enough for it, we're gonna go. And as I said earlier, the opportunity to come out here with the other job just made sense.
Yeah, I mean,
the timing of all of that made perfect sense. Because if I missed that window by like 2 weeks, it probably wouldn't have made sense.
That's fair.
I'd still probably be back east by now, doing that old job or finding something else by now.
That's probably very, very fair. I'm amped you got to move out here, though, because it was obviously, as we touched on last week, I moved out here with literally nothing. I filled up the back of my Civic with all the stuff I could have or need for my job / like my computer, and I lived in Airbnb for a month and a half while I looked for an apartment because that's what I had to do for this new opportunity. It was not fun. I'm not gonna lie to you. I kind of that month and a half I really sat at home every night and I was like, fuck, did I make the right choice? I really didn't know if I made the right choice or not.
And sometimes that just takes a while for it to click.
And
I think people get impatient for that click moment, but I think once you realize you have that moment, like, you know you're in the right place with the right people around you.
oh, I agree, and I love my job. I do. I love the people I work with, work for. Everything about my current job. It's just I've never been happier in my life.
I feel the same way.
I think
I'm the same way.
I think the last time I was truly this happy at work. The last time I was truly this happy at work had to be. It was probably May of 2019. We were in the playoffs. We had just won the first round. We were going to the second round. We were playing Newfoundland, who would beat us in, I believe it was 6 games, and then go on to win the cup. But we were playing the Newfoundland Growlers, and I was just sitting there, and I was like, dude, I love my job. I talk hockey all day. We're in the playoffs. Like, life was fucking amazing. And I was just sitting there. I was like, oh, I love my job. I'm looking forward. Like, I already was looking at next year, right? Like, I was looking forward to next year. And I think that was something that really hurt, was when there was no next year. I went into work on May 15th, 2019, thinking it was a normal day. We were doing season ticket renewals that day. I was about to get paid as well as I did, because my commission checks were kind of dog water at that job, just because of the commission structure. But I was thinking to myself, dude, I'm going to get paid today. Our CEO comes into the office. He's like, no one make any phone calls. We'll have a meeting at 11. I was like, that's weird. It's season ticket renewal day. I don't know if he said no one make any phone calls, but I know my buddy Jim, the director of sales, had a client actually in the office. And our CEO came in, I forget the person's name, and they said, go home, Jim will call you in a little bit. We have to have a company-wide meeting. That's confidential. And I was like, I do remember that. And I remember seeing my CEO stand in the middle of our bullpen and start to cry. And I remember, I didn't hate the guy, I didn't like the guy. But I remember I felt really bad for him that day. And by 1 o'clock that afternoon, I didn't have a job anymore. Because we closed down. And I got in my car and I drove home and I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to apply for every job in sports that I find. I applied all over the country in hockey jobs. I applied for some WNBA jobs.
You name it, you probably threw your name in there?
Yep. The only 2 states I didn't apply in were Washington State and California. But pretty much every other state in the country, if there was a job, I applied. And I did that the whole summer. I went to career fairs. I scoured Teamwork Online. I submitted apps basically everywhere. I don't actually think, ironically, I think my current company I did not apply to. Which I think in retrospect was probably a good call at the time, because I don't think the maturity would have been there. 2018-19 me wouldn't have been mature enough to make this move that I wound up making just 3 short years later.
I think that's what comes with our point of just good timing, is that you gotta get those experiences just on that other side to make those kinds of moves later on, for it to all kind of come together and make sense. Like that's what we said last time. You know, I have family out this way. I have you out here, got your girlfriend out here, so I'm not dropping myself into a new place where I basically have a map and said, figure it out, good luck.
Mm-hmm.
you're on your own. I was never, you know, I never had that issue.
Mm-hmm.
But if I go somewhere else, I know I'm gonna have that problem.
No, that makes sense.
But
And I know I was sitting here hypothetically, sitting at my computer while I was applying for all those jobs and like going through the interview process, especially to come here. And I know I said this last week. I called like I said, I stepped out. I walk. When I'm on the phone, I pace. It's a nervous habit. And especially with the cell phone, it's so easy to pace. And I remember, again, you've been to my house. Know that kind of walkway between my driveway and my front steps?
yeah,
I swear I ran a marathon between that while I was talking to my uncles trying to figure out if I should take this job or not. Like, the amount of pacing I did.
got a little cardio in.
Oh, I got a lot of bit of cardio in.
Loved it.
And I just... Because, again, uncertainty is... It's scary.
Helps to build your character by any means.
Oh, yeah. Nice callback to last week, bud.
It's a great use for that specific reference that'll never get explained.
I feel like
I think there'll be a time, and I think if you know what we're talking about, you'll know the precise thing that it is. But if you know us, we probably referred to it, and just will never tell you what it is.
Oh, I agree, and I think everything about how we're approaching life is just it's mitigating those uncertainties as much as possible. And I'm
just trying to put one foot in front of the other.
Exactly. And I think we're doing what we can with what we have. You have to play with the hands you're dealt. And you know, sometimes you're playing blackjack, other times you're playing, I don't know,
You're at the roulette wheel.
Gin is a confusing game, kind of.
I was gonna say you're at the roulette wheel.
Yeah, that's a good one too. And you put in all your money on 00.
Red 18.
Red 18. We're not Peyton Manning.
It's a great Pat McAfee cutaway. It's on
that's
YouTube somewhere.
That's one of the funny. I like that one.
I like the one where I think he and his brother did something for Mother's Day, and their dad just kicked them out of the house or something.
Mm-hmm. No, Pat McAfee's fantastic.
That was on every day in the office when I was there.
Yeah, well, it was great.
Much to my disclosure. Let's see. Anything else you want to hit tonight, or do you want to?
You know, I think we'll do this a little bit backwards here. You know, we didn't have any hot takes, and what is us if it's not full of hot takes? So I think
mine's more lukewarm.
So we start with the lukewarm. Maybe it'll warm up the takes, right?
I mean, this is one that I think is a commonly accepted idea. Is that I disagree with Buffalo Wild Wings labeling of their boneless wings.
Mm-hmm.
They're just modified chicken tenders, and I just need that out there. That takes out there, but I need it to be addressed by corporate.
That's fair, and I like boneless wings. I think they're even bigger hot take. I think they're better than bone-in wings.
I'm gonna let you stand on that hill with the select group of people that have that take.
I will. So here's why they're better. Number one, way less of a mess, which is fantastic. I like barbecue wings. I don't like buffalo. I think buffalo is a disgusting flavor. Anyone that says my favorite flavor is the flavor of hot, you have a personality of a plain white sheet of paper, and you need to have buffalo sauce as a part of your personality, so you have something. That is my opinion.
You're a rancher or blue cheese guy?
Neither, because they're both fucking disgusting.
Yeah, no, that's where we agree. That's why we got along so well. Is that we just go for it.
But
I do live near a Buffalo Wing and Ring, not to be confused with Buffalo Wild Wings, but I've never stepped foot in there because I know the menus can be labeled the same way.
I haven't been there either, and I've wanted to try it because they have one at
next
Great
time
American.
You're at Kings Island, we'll go.
That's Saturday.
I work on Saturday, so that won't happen.
I'm at Kings Island pretty much every weekend.
Traffic is terrible.
Oh yeah.
Combine that with the Cincy Open in a couple months.
Oh, dude, I hope you enjoy not driving.
I'm going home that week, so it works out quite well
That's
for me.
a fantastic life choice. Um,
I might have an event to freelance at, so
that's even better.
getting out there.
So I'll make this take, and I don't think this is a hot take. I think going home is elite. Going home when you have some sort of side gig, side hustle, even more elite.
Pay time off is a wonderful asset, and that should be. Pay time off is a great thing.
I'll tell you, I came home for. Well, I've gone home for both Christmases, but the first Christmas I came home for, actually, the school still had people. Like, the school still was in session by the time I got home. So I actually worked one day at the school as a substitute. So I literally was on vacation. I had a work day on vacation. It was fantastic.
There you go.
It was fun. The people I worked with at the school, I genuinely enjoyed working with. I can honestly say I don't think there's any people I've worked with that I genuinely hated working with either. Throughout my whole career, whether it was my children's museum job in high school, or the deli in high school, or the apple orchard in high school, or the ski area in high school, or the Dollar Tree in college, or the Monarchs here in Cincinnati, or even Worcester. I don't think any job I've worked I can say I absolutely hated that one person. Well, I couldn't stand them.
I've always had a few people that rub me the wrong way, and I just don't go out of my way to interact with certain people.
Mm-hmm.
But that's more so back in Worcester, and there's only a very specific group of people back there. But every other job I've had, it's always been great people, great times. I worked at a summer camp with people that I knew since I was 9 years old, and so we were all best of friends, just working together. So it all made sense.
And I mean, you know me rather well, and
do I though?
I think so.
At this point,
yeah. And as I said last week, I think you experienced it when we worked in Worcester together. I said last week I genuinely try to find the fun in everything or make it more entertaining, and I really think I accomplished that. Especially in Worcester, that 2-week break that we had. It wasn't actually a 2-week break, but the team was on the road for 2 weeks, and our phones in sales world for that arena team, if it wasn't the week of a home game, mind you, the phones were deader than Thomas Jefferson.
I think my favorite part about that 2 weeks was that we were basically on our own devices. But it's I think there was enough trust from our
management
to they knew we were going to do what we had to do.
Mm-hmm.
But we also just fucked around and found out at the same time.
Yeah, and I think
a lot of extended lunches to Antonio's, I think.
Yeah, I was gonna say I definitely.
We need to go back to Antonio's.
I was gonna say next time we're both in Worcester, we have to hit Antonio's.
That's mandatory.
We'll bring the child.
Oh, if he's not still.
If he's not in the stream, I think that'll be even funnier.
Shout out, Drew.
Shout out, Drew. I love you, buddy.
I have chat open. See if he.
I can tell you if he is. He's still here.
I'm gonna just send him a message in chat real quick, see if he even responds.
There he is.
That's basic. Our child's left alone in Virginia.
We said only good things about you. I promise. Actually, only good things.
Well, why tell the truth to him if he wasn't listening?
Because we respect him.
You know what? He's got a work ethic that it's got him to where he's at.
Again, it's it's that work ethic that we talked about. He embraces the I get to do this mentality. And I think that's the biggest thing. He really embraces that mentality, and that's why I think he'll be super successful in sports. I'm still hoping that we can get an entity to trade for him for a bottle of Coca-Cola.
I was gonna go with a photocopier, but you know.
No, I think a photocopier.
We gotta reinvent the. I think we gotta reinvent the Kyle Korver trade, and context it to Drew.
But at the end of the day, that's just who like. Exactly, I think Drew exactly epitomizes what you need to have for this industry.
Yeah.
And that's why I respect the kid, and I think that's why we became fast friends too. And I think we became fast friends for a lot of the same reasons. It's gonna be 3 cases of Coke. But I think that's why we kind of became fast friends and everything. Because we
that's the Bengals what their terms are to acquire a 12-year-old equipment manager.
Obviously he is not actually 12. We just call him the 12-year-old. He looks like a child. And that's been our running joke. That being said, sir, let's talk about things that in adulthood are incredibly underrated.
You want to go first?
No, I want you to go first because I have to switch some stuff around here.
Oh, okay. I mean, I think mini golf as an adult is quite underrated.
I'm not gonna lie. That when we went to Kimball's and played mini golf last summer, that was actually so fun.
That was great.
That was Drew flaked out on us, but that's okay.
Yeah, he was down in commie land doing commie things.
No, he was home. He was a summer. He was a summer RA, sir. I believe he was still here at the time.
Oh yeah, because we brought him Kimball's and I didn't get home until 1 a.m. that day.
Yes, exactly. But it was okay because we were both on vacation.
No, I didn't move out yet.
You were on vacation from work though. You were taking the time off.
Oh, I think I had a couple of days off. Yeah.
I remember that. But in general, we just.
You're right.
Underrated, and I think I'll continue to take. I think arcades, like yes, I can go to a casino, I can gamble money. You know what I also can do? I can go to the arcade. Know that little like quarter shooting game?
Oh, those are the best.
Oh, they are the best. Also just a straight up underrated game. So as I mentioned, I was at Kings Island this past weekend.
Down the road.
Yeah, just down the road from you. And I was like, we went because me and the girlfriend have season passes because she loves amusement parks, and I'm like, sweet, we'll do this. It's cheap. I love amusement parks too. I love roller coasters. Obviously, Saturday wasn't a great day. It was a little stormy, and we were like, all right, well, we'll just go. Like, we'll get lunch because we have a meal pass, so we get basically a free meal. And we'll just stick around for as long as we can, and then we'll go home. And I was like, well, we usually go with your little brother who's autistic, and so I don't really get to like go to the arcade or like enjoy it because if we do go to the arcade or play any of like the boardwalk games, for lack of a better term, we really have to cater whatever we're doing to him. And that's fine. I'm not against that. Don't take this take out of context. But I was like, I want to go to the arcade. I want to like actually explore the arcade. And they had a Willy Wonka theme, like the coin shooter thing.
Oh yeah, no, I played that exact one at Apex.
It's the exact same one. So we saw, if you collect all the cards and the golden ticket, you get like 5,000 tickets. And I was like, you know what? Every time we come, we'll just throw $10, and if we can eventually get to like one of the really big prizes, that's just a reward we've given ourselves with money we were gonna waste anyway. So we played the coin. I get a text from my power company. Hey, your power's out, and it's now pouring rain. So I look at her and I was like, let's just play arcade games for a little bit. And I finally found the Willy Wonka like coin shooter. That's really good apple juice. And that is legitimately apple juice. And so we started playing. And we have a full set minus a golden ticket, and we are missing like the Slugworth card.
You mean no. We're rebranding those to flank cards.
No, specifically,
not all of them are flank cards.
Our Oompa Loompa friend. This is the original Willy Wonka.
So the caveat to the flank card is you get the letter auto-signed by our old boss. And then you have the Oompa Loompa song play when you get the card itself, because branding.
But yes, so we were playing the game and we were making a killing and we were giving it.
I threw off your train of thought there with that.
You did 100%. I'll give you on your little scoreboard there of being able to knock me off my train of thought. You've done it once.
No,
in 2 weeks.
There's a budget on here.
Nice.
I'm
Adulting.
out. Yeah. Because my adult whiteboard. I don't have a big enough. I don't have space over here for another board.
But for your hypothetical scoreboard, yes, you have 1 point. For throwing me off track. And kind of on that same note, yes, this is actually apple juice. Most underrated drink in the world. Apple juice.
I'll get behind that.
This is legit Mott's apple juice too, not store brand. I'm an adult with adult money, so I buy Mott's apple juice.
That's what adults do.
Honestly, one of the biggest things I've noticed, and I think it's because I'm a young adult and I'm finally starting to come into money, a lot of the stuff I buy is stuff I wanted as a kid and I couldn't afford. This is Dr. Pepper. This is an adult beverage. In a U.S. Open koozie that I got at the U.S. Open. Also, koozie usage. Something I didn't do as a kid. Like, if I had a can of soda, like this can of Dr. Pepper, this is how I would drink it out in the summer. I would just drink the can straight, and I was like, I don't know why you need a koozie. Honestly, now, whenever I can get a koozie, especially if it's for free, I'm like, hell yeah, I got a koozie. No, apple juice is the elite juice. Orange juice is kind of, I don't like orange juice.
It's kind of overrated nowadays.
Yeah. I think that's our ranks. We'll do a tier list next week of juices. I think that has to happen.
I'll throw it on the list.
I think that has to happen. I think it's what the people, and by the people I mean like my left ear, really wants.
The left side of the brain wants that?
No, specifically my left ear. My left nostril doesn't agree. My left eye is kind of not sure where it wants to be on this opinion. But my left ear is really, really fighting for it.
All right, so we'll come up with some lists for the next couple weeks, and we'll throw them out as we go, for sure.
Oh, I agree, and I think we're definitely starting to roll here. We're definitely getting a cadence. We're at an hour and a half in.
Yeah, I mean, I think we got enough flankery for one night.
I think it's time for exactly what it needs to be time for. The pedal on the right makes you go vroom fucking vroom. Have a fantastic night. We'll be back next Wednesday at 8 p.m. Bye.
See ya.